This is part 4 of the Rally 500Z teardown. Getting really close to where I need to be at this point. Nope, I'm not actually. I still have a lot more to do. But as I get this front suspension off here, I found a lot of mix-match bolts, which made it take longer than it should have because I had to keep running back and forth to the toolbox, getting different sizes, which has really been the story of my life as far as this car goes. Looking at the steering shaft, it was in like a mullet in the 80s. I mean, that thing did not really want to come off there, but with some good pry tools and, a little bit of elbow grease, it did eventually come off. Same thing with the steering rack, lots of mix-match bolts. It just really took way longer than it should have to get all this stuff off of here, but eventually I did. Alright, so this next part's going to be a shit ton of fun. This bolt right here is actually seized to the metal sleeve that's in there. So if you take a look at this control arm right here, notice how the bolt slides freely back and forth in there. That's a metal sleeve. So on this one, that's rusted in there and it's not coming out. So I mean, I can hit it with a hammer and try and turn it, but it's not breaking loose. So I could spend all day messing with it trying to get it out, but I'm just going to do it the quick and fast way, and that's going to be by cutting that metal sleeve in the bolt with a Sawzall. So here we go. There she is. So just to finish this off, I wanted to talk about some of the parts on this car that are a little bit unique that you maybe haven't seen. So we'll go ahead and start with this strut here. The struts on this car, well, they do look very much like ordinary, stock Datsun struts. These are actually Datsun Comp Rally struts. So this was like, imagine a Nismo or a Ford performance part, factory aftermarket kind of thing. That's what these were, and they were specifically designed for rally. They're a little bit taller, have a little more travel, and I believe that the shock shaft is actually a little bit thicker than on the stock struts, but don't quote me on that one. The other thing to notice is this big old long cable attached here. Yeah, we didn't have ABS back then, so what is this? This is actually the wheel speed sensor, not wheel speed sensor, but anyway, it's the pickup for the rally computer. For those of you that aren't familiar with rally, we use extremely accurate odometers, and that's to help the co-driver keep track of where they are in the notes. So anyway, pretty neat. I'm on the fence about whether I'm going to attempt to rebuild these or build custom coilovers, but we'll kind of see as we go along. The next thing I wanted to look at real quick is the control arms. So one of the consequences of having those taller rally struts is the fact that these control arms had to be extended about half an inch or so in order to get the geometry right so that the car handled okay again. So it's got about an inch wider track width than a normal Z, and then with the offset wheels it had really high track width, which probably caused a large scrub radius and poor handling. That's why if you look at some of the pictures I've posted of the car, you'll notice in the early ones it's using the Panasports in the front, and that's because they're the bigger, wider wheels, so that's what was originally thought would be best. However, Mike found that actually throwing the stock wheel that had the lower offset and narrower tire on the front caused it to have better handling. So I'm going to go ahead and kind of start from zero when I get this thing back together, and I probably will have higher offset wheels on the front, at least till I figure out what's going to work best for me. So anyway, getting back to these control arms, one thing I noticed that's kind of funny is that as you can see, here's this weld right here where they extended this thing. Not the prettiest thing, but this one, on the other hand, not only did they weld it when they extended it, they added a plate here and a plate here, which, this is closer to the right way that you would want it to do. This one is well done enough that, at least for the time being, till I get some custom control arms for this, I'd be pretty happy just running this one. This one, on the other hand, without the plating, I'm not sure why they didn't do that. But the other thing I noticed, because it's not plated, is if you look at this, you might not be able to see it on the camera, but this thing isn't quite welded together straight. It actually has kind of a crooked in it, so it's kind of like this. Not a whole lot, but enough that It just kind of bothers me a little bit. So anyway, I'm probably going to end up going to some aftermarket control arms for this thing. I'm not sure if I'm going to build them myself or get some from a different company, but just something I have to think about. That being said, thanks for watching part 3. Tune in for the next one.